The city was quiet that night, cloaked in the kind of stillness that only the late hours could bring. It was the perfect opportunity for a thief, a man whose life was steeped in shadows. His name was Marcus, a petty thief who had spent most of his life in and out of trouble. Tonight, though, he wasn't thinking about the usual small-time robberies. He needed something bigger, something that could change his fate. Even if just for a moment, as he walked down the dimly lit street, his eyes scanned the rows of parked cars. His heart raced, and the familiar excitement of a quick, easy theft pulsed in his veins. That's when he saw an inexpensive, gleaming sedan parked on the side of the street, windows slightly rolled down, just enough to make it an easy target. He crept closer, and with practiced hands, he slid into the car, popping the door open effortlessly. There was no one in sight, no alarms, no cameras. It was the perfect crime. He shifted the gear, started the engine, and the car hummed to life. But as he reached for the wheel, a soft, pitiful cry pierced the silence. He froze, his fingers still gripping the steering wheel. His heart stopped for a second. Then he turned around. In the back seat, curled up on the floor, was a 2-year-old boy. The child looked weak, sweaty, and disoriented. His small body trembled in the cold, his eyes wide with fear, his little lips cracked and dry from thirst. He was alone. Marcus's stomach churned. His eyes darted around the car. No sign of the parents. No one around. How had this child ended up in the car alone, in the middle of the night? He could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on him. For a moment, he thought about just driving off, continuing with his plan. After all, what was one more crime, one more night of darkness in his life? But the child's gaze locked with his, and something stirred inside him, a feeling he hadn't felt in years. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't fear. It was something else, something almost forgotten. His hand slowly left the wheel, and he reached for the child, gently. He scooped him up, his tiny body feeling fragile against Marcus's chest. The child was barely breathing, his little body trembling with the remnants of hunger and thirst. Marcus's mind raced as he looked around, but there was no one in sight. He couldn't just leave the child here. The boy needed help, and for the first time in years, Marcus knew he was the one who could make a difference. He wasn't sure why, but in that moment, it felt as if the universe had placed him in this exact spot for a reason. He wasn't going to just walk away. Carefully, he took the boy to the nearest diner, a small rundown place that was still open. The elderly woman behind the counter looked at him, her eyes narrowing as she saw the child in his arms. But when Marcus asked for water, her suspicion melted into concern. She brought him a cup, and Marcus held it to the boy's lips, watching as the child gulped down the water, desperately, like a lifeline. "Where did you find him?" the woman asked, her voice softening. "I don't know," Marcus muttered, "but I couldn't leave him." The elderly woman nodded slowly, her wrinkled face softening with understanding. "You did the right thing. Most people would have just kept driving." That night, Marcus stayed at the diner until the boy had fallen asleep in his arms, completely exhausted from hunger and thirst. The elderly woman gave him a warm blanket, and as the first light of dawn broke, Marcus knew he couldn't just walk away from this. He had a choice to make. Years passed, and that night became a turning point in Marcus's life. The child, whom he had named Liam, grew up strong, healthy, and full of life. From the moment he could speak, he began asking questions about the night he had been found in that car. He never quite understood how he had gotten there. But Marcus had never told him the full truth, only that he was there to protect him. It was a story of love, sacrifice, and, most importantly, redemption. As Liam grew older, Marcus found himself falling into a routine he had never imagined for himself, caring for someone, being needed. He took on odd jobs, worked hard to provide for the boy, and watched as Liam excelled in school. Driven by a desire to understand the world around him. Liam was bright, compassionate, and driven, traits that Marcus couldn't help but be proud of, but there were struggles, too. Marcus's past, full of crime and poor decisions, always loomed over him like a dark cloud. He was a former thief, someone whose record was tainted by his past. And while he had tried to make amends, there were moments when he questioned whether he was worthy of the life he now had with Liam. One evening, as Liam was preparing to graduate high school, he approached Marcus with a decision that left him speechless. "Dad," Liam said, his voice steady, "I want to join the police force. I want to help people, just like you helped me." Marcus's heart swelled with pride, but also with fear. The road Liam was choosing was one filled with danger, uncertainty, and challenges that Marcus wasn't sure he could protect him from. But he couldn't deny the fire in Liam's eyes, the same fire that had led Marcus to do what he did that fateful night. "Are you sure?" Marcus asked, his voice thick with emotion. Liam nodded, his eyes bright with determination. "I've thought about it a lot, and this is the only way I can truly give back. I want to be someone who makes a difference." In that moment, Marcus realized that the boy he had saved so many years ago had grown into a young man with a heart full of compassion and a desire to do good. And he, Marcus, the thief who had once stolen without thinking, had played a part. In that transformation, the next few years were filled with challenges as Liam worked hard to complete his training and become a police officer. There were times when Marcus questioned whether he had done enough, whether he had been a good enough father. But every time he looked into Liam's eyes, he saw the man he had helped create, a man driven by kindness, justice, and the desire to make the world a better place. One day, as Liam stood proudly in his police uniform, ready to serve, Marcus couldn't help but feel a profound sense of pride and gratitude. It wasn't just the uniform that made Liam a hero. It was the kindness, the courage, and the heart that he had shown throughout his life. As Liam stood on the steps of the police station, his uniform sharp and his heart full of purpose, Marcus stood behind him. For the first time in a long while, he felt at peace. He had redeemed himself in the eyes of the only person that mattered, his son. And in return, Liam had become the kind of man who would make a difference in the world, just as Marcus had once hoped. And so, as the sun set on a new chapter in their lives, Marcus knew that kindness had changed everything. A simple, unexpected act of care had rippled through time, transforming not just one life, but many. Kindness doesn't just change lives. It can transform futures. It's never too late to make a difference. And sometimes, the smallest acts can create the greatest impact. If you've been moved by this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more inspiring tales of kindness and redemption. And share your own kindness stories in the comments below, because together, we can make the world a better place. Stay tuned for more heartwarming stories.